Okay, so we have here a part of the animation that I made previously. This is just a section of the animation, and I'm going to show some easy things to consider when you're doing animation, at least in this kind of style where everything um, there's a lot of frames drawn and a lot of movement. So um, one of the first things is to create the character, and for that I create a very simple character. This is my character Pierre, and I'm using as a background, I'm using an image that I took previously from a cell phone um, into this other cell phone. So the camera that I use for this part of the animation is also a cell phone that I have mounted on a tripod. And then I'm doing the animation as if it is on this phone right here, when in reality there was nothing there. If I can turn off the layer, so there's nothing there. It's a blank frame, right? But I created this character on top of that, and I'm animating it here, giving the impression that it was animated in directly on FlipaClip, which it is, because I am animating it in FlipaClip. I'm just mixing two different shots. So anyway, so the character, there's one of the things that I have to consider when drawing this character is because of the nature of the character. He moves very fast, and I have to be very careful with the timing of this animation. So when it comes to the poses, uh, it animates really fast from one pose to another. Let's see if I can count the number of frames here. This is the first frame. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. About 8 frames to the next pose, right? There's 8 frames to the next pose. So it's pretty fast. I think the frame rate here is 30 frames per second. So I have a 30 frames per second animation. So 8 frames is quite fast. It's less than a third of a second for this motion here. So because the movements are so quick, I need to space them out properly. So I move my character to this pose, and then I pause it there for a while, and then I can go into my next movement, which is this one, right? And the amount of frames is practically the same in each one. Now, probably 8 frames for this one also. So each movement from one keyframe or one pose to the next is about 8 frames. And that means that I have to pause my character between those movements, or I'm just going to have a very fast animation and convey no emotion whatsoever. So for this one, if you notice, the character moves quickly, but between each one of those poses, it stays there. It stands still for a while. So that's very important. It's very important to have that timing correctly. Sometimes if you feel like the character is moving too fast, then you can add more frames. If the movement itself is too fast, then you can add more in between frames. The idea here is that the way I did this is I created poses, right? There's one pose, and then there's this pose. I created that one, and the first one and the second one, and then I create the in-between frames, right? And of course I do some squash and stretching here because my character has that feel to it. And, so I compress my character. The movement is not linear to the other pose. It's more like if this is my first pose, I also create like a in-between pose where my character is squashed and it's recoiled. So I go to the next one, and the same from this one to the next one. It didn't move in a linear way. Let me find it. So the same thing applies, right? I could do from one pose to the other, but it's better if you find like a middle pose where you can give a little more expression to the characters. In this case, my character just doesn't just move from point A to point B, it has some movement in between. The importance of the in-between frames and creating that sense um, of emotion, some kind of personality that the character has when it does that. And then, of course, um, there are other things. My character in this particular animation, the character is trying to escape or is waiting. First, it's waiting for whoever was drawing it in the beginning, right? Because the animation, the complete animation starts by me creating the cartoon, and then I'm interrupted by the, the doorbell, and I get up and I leave. And so my character here is like waiting for me. This is a pose like, okay, I'm waiting for you. The character is waiting for the person that's drawing him, and it's getting impatient. And how do you convey impatience? Well, one of the ways to convey those kind of things is by tapping the foot, right? So if I continue the animation and my character suddenly like taps the foot, it's like, okay, where is this person that's drawing me? Why is he not coming back? Right? It's telling me that. So after that, then it realizes that it can move on its own, right? The character, which was initially drawn by a person, realizes that doesn't need the person anymore. He can move on its own. So after tapping, after the impatience, he realizes, hey, wait a minute, I get an idea. Like I can do this myself. So once again, the timing is important. Give time to the movement, okay, and time for the pauses so you understand what the character is trying to say. Oh, I have an idea. Pause there. The character's paused, and then it just recoils again, right? It just goes back into that position, and then time again, time it. So so it stays in that position, so I can have a sense of what he's going to do next. In a way, it's like an anticipation pose because it just tells me that he's going to do something, but I don't know exactly what he's going to do. So after that, then I just end with the character coming out of the phone. And here, in order to make that distinction, I give the character a little more body by coloring it. So once he's out of the phone, he's now colored white, right? So to make the distinction between being part of the 2D world and then now the character comes out into the real world, right? So yeah, so timing, pose to pose, in betweens. The importance of the in betweens is that you have to create personality in your character. So the in betweens are where you create that personality. The poses are your starting point and end point, but the personality of your character is in the in betweens. So pay attention to the in between frames when you're trying to convey personality, when you're trying to convey emotion, because it's in the in between frames where you're going to do that. The keyframes, the poses are just poses to go from one place to another, but it's what's in between those poses is what matters in this case. All right, so that's going to be all for now. I'm hoping to make more of this live videos, and hopefully you join and ask questions. If you have any questions, I do this on Instagram as well. Hey, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and take a look at the links in the video.